Hi and welcome to Gardening with DC. In today's seed series video, we're going to have a quick look at indoor plants. Now I'm going to start off with what might appear to be a rather controversial statement, but I hope that by the end of the video you'll sort of form the view that actually it's not so controversial at all, and there is there's a proper purpose for me making the statement. So the statement I want to make is that there's no such thing as an indoor plant, which you might think, well, that's crazy, DC. What are you talking about? Plants are being marketed and sold as indoor plants all the time, right? So you know, what's going on? So the point I want to make here, and it's sort of point one of the video, is that it's really important for your thinking if you're going to be successful with plants inside, is that what you actually have is not actually an indoor plant. What you actually have is an outdoor plant that, because of its evolved adaptations in its natural environment outside, those evolved adaptations means that they can grow inside in your, or potentially grow inside in your lounge room, for example. Okay, so that's point one. It's sort of just a sort of a mindset thing. Don't think you have an indoor plant. Just know that you have an outdoor plant that can grow and thrive indoors. Okay. So point two, sort of fairly logically from that point, is just know your plant. If you're going to look after and care for a plant, you're going to know what plant you have. Lots and lots of plants are being marketed and sold as indoor plants. The list isn't quite endless, but it's a pretty long list. So really know know what plant you have, whether you've got a fern, like an ivy, a bromeliad, just it goes on and on and on. Here I've got what we might call some sort of older school examples. I've got a peace lily, an aspidistra, and a sansevieria, which for years and years and years used to be marketed as mother-in-law's tongue. I don't think that's very PC anymore. It's got a variety of other names: snake plant, St. George's sword. So that's sort of the other point, is plants sometimes are marketed with one name in one place and they have a different name somewhere else. So just be aware of that fact as well. But really important to know your plant. In the video here, we're sort of going to deal with plants that are going to be in your lounge room, as opposed to plants that might be in your bathroom, right? So things like orchids and particular ferns. I'm happy to talk about your lounge room. I'm probably a bit uncomfortable to talk about your bathroom, if that's okay. So that's point two, know your plant. Okay. So point three, and this is probably the sort of the most sort of crucial part of the video. So if we acknowledge sort of point one, that you've got an outdoor plant that you're now bringing inside, it's crucial, absolutely crucial, if you're going to care for them and if they're going to thrive, that you basically need to be providing to their needs that they would otherwise get outside now that they are inside. And so those needs are obviously light, soil, water, nutrition, and one that is often overlooked is weather, right? So rain and moisture in the atmosphere, and wind. That works well. I don't think that works so well. So just bear those in mind. You need to be providing those, right? Because they're no longer outside in their natural environment. Okay, so light, soil, nutrition, water, weather. Let's just deal with them very quickly. So light. So lots of the plants that sort of are being marketed and sold to go in your lounge room are sort of forest floor dwelling plants, and quite often on the label they'll say something like part shade. And what that actually means is that they want the sort of in the forest floor they're sort of receiving dappled light. So in your sort of lounge room environment, what that really sort of translates to is sort of easterly sun. It's not westerly sun. So things like this, if you put them in a westerly window, they would become very upset. Okay, so just bear that in mind. So when it says part shade, what that actually probably means is sort of a more easterly type sun, not a westerly type sun. Here we have sort of foresty floor type plants. The opposite of that would be sort of cacti, succulents. Cacti being sort of the super opposite. They are going to be fine or much happier in a sort of a more westerly position, because that's their natural sort of adaptation. Okay, so that's light. Soil, if you're going for the sort of the leafy, the foresty floor type plants, it's really, really important if you're buying one of those that when you pot it, don't scrimp on the potting mix. On that forest floor, it's a very nutrient-rich environment, so they want a sort of very nutrient-rich soil in the pot that they would be going in. So really, really important not to scrimp on that. Again, sort of the opposite with a cacti or some succulents. They might spend their life literally living on a rock. So the opposite applies. So they don't need such nutritionally rich soil. So nutrition, it sort of follows from that, doesn't it? So if you've got a sort of foresty floor, leafy type plant, and sort of a way that you'll know that you've got a sort of a foresty floor type plant is sort of the size of the leaf. They're maximising opportunity to catch light energy that they then convert into chemical energy to grow. So the bigger the leaf, sort of gives a bit of an indication that it's that sort of foresty floor type plant, and it's trying to maximise opportunity to capture light to convert to chemical energy, which is what it then grows with. So nutrition sort of follows. Foresty floor probably will need a bit of nutrition. Cacti, you don't need to worry about it, do you? Okay. Water I'm going to come back to at the end, along with weather, just so that because I think a lot of people worry about the watering element. So I want that sort of in your sort of foremost of mind. So we're going to do that at the end. Okay, so that's point 3. Really, really important. You've brought an outdoor plant inside, so you need to provide to its needs. Okay, and if you've got that in your mindset and you start to do that, you're going to be successful with this. Okay, I'm not guaranteeing that statement, by the way. Okay, so that's 3. 4. The madness continues. Point 4. Give your plants a holiday. What? Send them off to Fiji? Are you crazy? So what do I mean by that? Give them a holiday. So what I mean is put them outside, right? Put them outside in a situation that broadly mimics where they are successful out in the wild. Okay, so if they're in your lounge room, just pop them outside. Give them a couple of weeks, something like that, as say in a situation that broadly mimics where they grow and thrive successfully in the wild. The plant will really thank you for that. Okay, so point 4. Give your plants a holiday, give them a break, give them a different spot. Okay, so point 5, which is the last one, and I don't know how to describe this, because it's the weather and watering, right? And so we're sort of talking about climatic conditions, and we don't really have climatic conditions in our lounge rooms. I'm in my lounge room here in Seaforth in Sydney, and I'm not sure I can claim to have climatic conditions, but that's sort of the point, isn't it? Right? So what we need to do is try to understand that that the sort of the environmental conditions that are really agreeable for us inside aren't necessarily always as agreeable for our plants, right? In fact, they could be a little bit disagreeable, right? So just stuff like this, really important. Give them a spray. You know, if they're on the forest floor, they're used to having a sort of a much higher moisture content level in the air, in the atmosphere, than we would have in our lounge room. So a bit of a spray, really good. Likewise, wind, which would blow debris and other rubbish off the leaves. You know, dust can build up really quickly on the leaves. So as well as a spray, with a really light cloth, just a slight dust. And if you don't do that, then basically the plant's gonna suffocate, because it's not going to be able to turn light into chemical energy. So really important. Top tip: spray, just water, and also give the leaves just a gentle wipe. Now, while I'm sort of on this point of sort of that agreeable, disagreeable element, also bear in mind that it can occur both in summer and winter. So things that we do to make our lounge room more agreeable for us might make it even more sort of disagreeable for your plants. So what I'm talking about there is AC units and heaters as well. So bear in mind, if you've got a heater or an air conditioner crashing down on your plant, it might well find, not literally crashing down, I mean the purpose of it, blowing air and whatever else, they might find that a little bit disagreeable. So just bear that one in mind. And then, so let's just sort of finish off with watering, because people get really nervous about that. So forestry floor type plants, and you know, if you're starting off, peace lily is a really useful plant to start off with, because this sort of bad boy here will, if it needs a drink, it will literally sort of wilt over, and it will wilt not to the point of death, as long as you catch it soon enough. So it'll wilt over, and that'll tell you, oh, it needs a bit of a drink. You can give it a drink and it'll spring back up. But forestry floor type plants, you know, really think about, well, they're probably going to need a bit of a water once a week. Another top tip, if you can, right? So I mentioned about giving the plants a holiday outside. If you can water them outside as well, that's really useful, and give them a really sort of good drench and drain, so water really gets through all of the potting mix, really gets to all of the roots. Let them drain properly outside, and then bring them back inside. That's a really good way to be able to water the sort of the forestry floor type plants. You know, the contrast would be sort of succulents and cacti, where it's obviously a much longer period of time. Some cacti, you might need to give them a bit more than a drop, obviously, but a little bit of water once every couple of months or something like that. Another really useful thing to do, so when we're watering, what we're watering is the roots, right? We're not watering the foliage. That's sort of our sprayer. So don't worry if you want to sort of be testing for the water. Don't worry about if the soil is dry on top. That's potentially fine. The roots aren't on top of the soil, okay? But put your finger all the way in. If it's still sort of dry, your finger is sort of all the way in, then that probably tells you that it needs a little bit of a drink, okay? And remember, so we're watering the roots, right? We're not watering the plant. So yeah, so that's sort of that's it for me. Hopefully those 5 points are useful, and see you next time on Gardening with DC.